They're going to be using thermal imaging. So why would I want this inside of a ghost hunt? It's interactive, guys, I promise.
See the ghost.
How so?
Either cold or hot images.
Cold, right. We're looking for cold spots. Like, it's the old adage with the hairs on the back of your neck, the whole 9 yards. So that is a true statement. Like, I have found very cold figures moving around just like a human. So with that said, this is a FLIR. So this is the real deal. This is not any kind of, like, it's an attachment for a cell phone, but it is a FLIR camera. This is what firemen use to actually help save people. This is the real deal here. The way I had this guy set up is that it has a blue dot bouncing around the screen. That's to help you find the coldest spot in the frame at that particular moment. So we're going to be doing starts and stops throughout the entire evening with this camera. Just because as great as the hardware is, the software sucks. So I'll splice all the videos together, make one video so you guys don't have to like sort through everything. But I make everything nice and easy. So get yours started as well. So I'll help you out with that one. These get a little tricky. Perfect. All right, so welcome to your first space officially. We're in a parking lot. Congratulations, you made it. This place used to be something. First off, spirit box and communication people, I am not going to give you questions like what color is George Washington's white horse, like what we did over there with the big red barn. You're going to get your answers from your spirit boxes. So, what is this place? It used to be the Eliza and Charles Pinckney Mansion. Their mansion sat in the front of the space, facing East Bay Street. Eliza's garden was lined up with that restaurant over there and came all the way across, and then the servant and slave quarters were all the way in the back. So, who the heck were these people? Eliza and Charles had a son named Charles. They had a nephew named Charles. That's 3 different Charleses. Now you guys see why I look for 2 clues to be able to verify which Chuck we're chatting with. Because again, any one of them could come through. But the son and the nephew were signers of the Constitution for South Carolina. That's a pretty big deal for us, but I hate politics more than anybody here. So again, I'm going to move on. We're going to talk about Eliza. Her story is way cooler anyway. She married Charles at a young age according to today's standards, not the colonial times that she came from. If we're going to ask her with her communication devices how old she was when she got married, we're not going to hear numbers like 12 and 14. So we're talking according to today's standards. And the reason I bring this up is because her husband, Charles, was over double her age. So again, kind of a creepy age gap back in the 1700s, definitely a creepy age gap now. So kind of keep that one in the back of your brain. But she married him because her father was over in England and he thought he was dying. He's trying to bring all of his children home one last time so he could see them. Eliza didn't believe he was dying. She stayed put and she got married. It's 1744. You don't get married in 1744 for a green card so you can stay here. We're not even a country yet. She did marry him out of love, and no, there was no foul play after their, I wouldn't want to say divorce because their marriage ended because of his death. But she was correct. Her father did not die right away. Instead, he started sending her gifts from England to this space. One of them happened to be the plant seeds of indigo. You guys have been in town for at least an hour or so. You've seen the word indigo somewhere on a building, whatever, a hotel. Indigo is pretty prominent here. Indigo is a plant that makes blue dye that makes our blue jeans blue. Nobody here is wearing it right now. I normally have at least one example. Somebody's jacket, something. But when Eliza got her indigo, she didn't know what to do with it. She had to learn from her slaves how to keep it cultivated. It's not always hot here. When she figured it out, she moved it to a big plantation, turned it into this huge cash crop, and then gets a hold of her father. So, because the rice plantations are going downhill, she wants international contacts. So that way she became a businesswoman during colonial times. This is something absolutely unheard of, by the way, which is part of the reason why I love to bring you here. That's her business and her, obviously, the boring stuff. Let's get into the weird stuff, because that's why everybody's here, right? So Linda's like, yeah, bring on the weird.
Bring on the weird. I just winked it.
I saw that. I didn't even bring my glasses when I saw that. So what's funny is when I bring my glasses, everybody thinks I'm Zach Bagans. So, because the glasses look they're almost identical to his. So I always try to leave a little scruff so I'm not him. But anyway, Marie, you're going to focus on a few things. I want you to focus on Eliza's death. So how old she was, what she died from, where she's buried, what president was a pallbearer at her funeral. So those are going to be your series of questions. Obviously, if you're not getting much out of that, I have a whole backlog of things that we can ask Eliza, things we commonly get answers to. So that's what you're going to start with as far as yours goes, because you're using a whole different style. The mansion's not here anymore. You might want to ask Eliza what happened to it, and then maybe we'll actually get the date. Like, we want the when. So it could be, the fire, and then when did that actually happen? Or if you want to ask about the children, you can do that. I already told you about one. His name was Charles. You can ask what their names are and how many she leave it alone. There's a tragedy among these children that she doesn't usually like being poked at. So if we start
I've
poking the
got
bear.
2 different names, Jack and Meg.
No. It's just weird. Yeah, because we're still close to Big John's. We will get a little bit of bleed over.
Okay, that's
So again, that does happen. I don't know who Jack, Megan, and Derek are, because you got Derek 3 times. I don't know who the heck that name is, but it's obviously normally twice. It kind of stands out like a beacon to me. Like I need to research a little bit to kind of find out who that is. But 3 times, yeah, I'm definitely going to be deep diving into
You
that.
have records and everything that shows up on this thing automatically, but you'll be able to sift through it later on.
Oh yeah, see, watch.
Okay, that's fine.
No, watch, because you're going to want to see it too. You hit the little white box next to the word, and it shows you everything you've had. You can scroll right through. And then I'm going to email it to me, so that way I can
Quer dizer, as informações são notar muito que os bancos não possam.
I'm always looking to see like who did I miss. Because I always withhold information on.
I didn't see any of that, but my first one I saw was the truck.
Okay. We're going to circle back, because that's the way you get back to your main screen, and that's what you're going to be using to communicate with. Alright, so we are going to spread out in this location. There's only a handful of cars in here, so let's just try to stay clear of them all together. We have plenty of space. It's beautiful on weekdays because normally the space is full. Just so you know. So we hit the corners, try to find where those spots are. I'm actually going to keep Wilma behind with me for a few minutes so I can show her how to use that motion sensor, and then I'm going to be kind of bouncing around to see what's going on with your devices. The cool thing is with yours, Marie, you have an extra earbud. If he gets too bored with holding that camera like this, nice and slow, give him the other earbud to help you listen. He's like, yeah, I'm on that already. All right, so let's spread out. You're going to stay with me, young lady.
Okay.
Obviously, you've seen some of those trees. Normally, when we're on like main streets or in London, so I'll say don't worry about that. I just want to make sure you saw some of those. So we're going to pull up the
Les autos sont toutes fraîches. Écoutez un peu. Tu vas virer folle à entendre ça, hein? Tu vas virer folle? Parce que...
hearing out of that guy?
A lot of things.
Well, what do you got? No matter how silly you think it is.
It goes quickly, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's...
Sunday 17th? I think that was last Sunday.
Doesn't
No.
matter. It's the number that I'm looking for.
Oh.
So with your spirit box, it's slowed down. So what color is the big red barn? Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer. I don't need Rudolph the nosed reindeer. I just need red. So you just gave me Sunday 17th. I look at the number 17. So what other number am I going to find with that, like the first clue to see if it's going to match up to anything. So that's why I read all this stuff. Obviously, we're getting, and you're going to get better at this as the night goes on. I mean, you don't need to. When I'm listening to it, I'm not paying attention to what's playing. All I want to know is what's loud and clear and what did I actually hear. So if you heard, some country song that you didn't recognize, if you heard "Drive My Truck," I want to know that you heard "Drive My Truck." Not that truck is going to be relevant to the Pickney family in the colonial times, but you get my point.
Yeah.
Martin, what do you think of that thing? Pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I got used to it because, first I saw a lot of blue spots. I realized that it's the cars and the windows and all that, so I'm getting the hang of it.
Yeah, so you're going to see either things take shape or start moving. It's easy to spot where the glass is because glass is always cold. It's always colder than the ambient temperature.
Yeah, and see that big window there, like on the left where there's no window? There was a movement there,
Okay.
but then it stopped.
Well, you were obviously filming it, so I'll be able to catch it.
Yeah.
That's why we filmed it.
Je veux pas savoir la chanson, c'est parce que dans le fond, ce qui arrive, c'est que son point, c'est que comme il va utiliser des chansons connues pour te transmettre des informations.
Mon point, c'est comme n'importe quoi peut dire n'importe quoi.
Si c'est every single... Friday. Songwriter extraordinaire. Songwriter extraordinaire. $1 billion.
On parle du burning tantôt, le building a passé ici.
You guys anything else coming up on yours?
Yeah, we did. Friday,
Yeah.
Songwriter extraordinaire, and billion. Songwriter extraordinaire.
Yes.
Brilliant. And what was the other one?
Friday.
So none of those, to my knowledge, are going to be relevant. But again, you're on the right track. So I think moving forward, now that you're getting the gist of it, I'm going to stick to the ones that are either really weird to hear on the radio, like Extraordinaire is kind of weird, but I don't have anything that's specific enough to be able to tie that to Eliza or the Pinckney family. So again, I'm going to be kind of sticking to my guns here of my knowledge of the Pinckney family, writing down all the relevant facts. But yeah, you're definitely on the right track.
Eternal Spring.
Okay.
Ghosts. Oh, oh, oh.
Ça va bien. C'est quoi le mot que t'as entendu déjà?
Quel?
Ben, c'est que tu viens de me dire. Tu dis.
Ah. Non, c'était pas spécial comme ça. Friday night. Oh, oh, qu'est-ce que c'est ça? On est comme des weirdos dans le parking lot.
I don't want anybody to know what's happening.
Well, that's creepy.
Le Friday, tu l'as entendu plusieurs fois. Tu devrais dire, il aime ça, ça. Il aime ça quand tu dis des choses. But I don't want to know anybody to know what's happening. Moi, je dirais tout de suite. C'est interactif.
How this works, just like close the windows look at the whole mess of letters and I see if there's a word in there. If I don't see anything, I reset it and start off from scratch. So that way I have a fresh set of letters and there's not like an overwrite. So now it's empty. So now anytime there's an EMF spike, like it'll stop and then put the letter to the bottom.
Okay.
So sometimes, again, ghosts don't know what they're doing with this guy yet. So it's almost like I'm teaching them night after night after night until we can start getting some answers out of it. Liza, you gotta stop that little box on the letters of your name. There's the answer of no. I'm actually gonna write that one down because that was almost like a direct answer.
Yeah, it was one letter right after the other. Huh? It was ding, ding.
And now it's not giving me anything.
So what was the question that you asked?
I told her she can get close to this device to make
No.
the cursor stop, and I got a no.
Wow.
Ozzy, you can spell your name out with this little box in my hand. Let me go see what those tones were, and then I'm probably going to pull us back to the wall so I can get you guys.
Comme ça?
Oui?
C'est différent. C'est comme pas des histoires, c'est comme juste. Mais lui, il a l'air full in dedans.
Ah ouais.
Ah, bonne réponse. Mais j'avoue que c'est cool.
Who did you have some for?
C'est ça, Marc-Claude. Il faut que tu poses des questions en voix haute, que tu te répondes. Techniquement, il faut que tu poses des questions en voix haute. Ouais.
All right, rein it in, guys. Come on, we're trying to get. There's my touch.
Yeah.
All right, so welcome to Lodge Alley. This is a weird space. So this, when we crossed that last crosswalk coming down, that's where the original Charlestown Wall used to be. So you're standing on one of the first streets we ever had. People used to live here, which is exactly why I asked you all for names when you're listening and watching for your spirit boxes. Now, with the names, I have the full list of residents of every single person that's ever lived here. So again, it's not a lengthy list, but again, we get the same names over and over and over again. Those two names are Benjamin and John. Nobody heard Benjamin and John tonight, and I didn't make it out on the word list, on the letter list either. So, Benjamin and John both lived here in 1801. That's all I have about them. We keep getting the same names every 6 to 7 weeks. Right now we're in week 5 of that loop. Here's why it's happening. The bricks you're standing on have been here since 1739. That's a long time, and they're guessing at that point. They don't even know for sure. These bricks are made of granite. Granite is not supposed to have an electrical charge, but they say any stone that's natural like this can hang on to the memories of the things that occurred here. So, the reason why we're getting that loop, I mean, I don't know if it was a happy occurrence, if it was somebody's wedding day, or whatever it is, but it could be something on the other end, but I've never had that kind of vibe going on down here. Now, put this device right on any brick that you want, and let me know if you get any numbers.
Set it on there.
Any brick, yep, just set it right on the ground. Pretty low. I've seen it go all the way up to 15 at this in this location. As we get closer to it, we're probably not going to get anything out of it. But again, we're getting closer, so I didn't know if we were going to start seeing those higher numbers at this point. But the other piece of this alley, we're not going to stay here because these bricks hang on to the humidity. I see everybody like fanning themselves. The Freemasons had a Masonic lodge down here. We will get terms relative to the Freemasons while we're in here on the spirit boxes. That red one, I do have 2 of them, and often we'll hear the word Illuminati. It's a weird term to hear on the radio. So it's a radio term, so who the heck is talking about the Illuminati on the radio, first off, and why do we only hear it here? 6 times last year, 3 times so far this year. Again, can't make this stuff up. We'll also get the word Mason, symbols, founding fathers. Like, we'll get all of these weird phrases around here that tie into, obviously, the Freemasons. So, again, this space is very interesting just because of what it actually does, and it's another paranormal occurrence like the bullet hole at Big John's. It's not always going to be somebody we can ask, like Eliza.
Yeah, I was got 4 words between a lot.
What?
4 words: accident, evolution, elect, retirement, often, and why.
On the way here?
That's a lot.
That's a lot coming up the sidewalk.
Yeah,
But the why
So,
part when you first came in.
it's very interesting. We're going to let this gentleman pass through again. Oh, you're good, man. You're good.
It's in the middle.
So,
What was the second one? Elect?
elect.
Elect,
Elect.
Yeah. So, again, I mean, we're dealing...
retirement, elect, evolution.
Yeah, that one I'm going to throw away. Like, that's one of those, like, way too vague for me.
Charter. Charter.
Charter?
Charter.
Charter again.
Charter?
Double charter?
Oh, and 2 different people said it.
People?
Yeah, it's like radio. Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Again, it's not an easy job. When you guys get that recording back, it's hard. That's why when I give you the list, it's just much easier to look to see what I found sometimes, because that thing is hard to listen to. So we're going to actually go to another alley after this. Again, I don't spend a lot of time here because it's really hot for us. The next alley, I don't take you all the way through it like this one. I've been kicked out of there.
I've been?
Yeah, that's the fun part of the story. We are going to sneak in on the one end because tours are allowed on that end, but I'll tell you why I got kicked out once we get there. Definitely continue to pay attention to your spirit box devices. And yeah, just go ahead and continue recording. Nobody's going to say anything. We're just going to cut across the street as we exit. So, and you're going to see us cut through a parking lot. Acknowledge. Acknowledge. Who else is here? Give us some kind of word or phrase we can understand.
With something to go with?
And you're not getting any numbers there.
No.
Criticism. Yeah.
What was it?
Criticism.
Criticism.
Yeah. So pardon my French.
All right, let's move on. Nice and slow. These bricks get a little worse, just so you know.
Do we keep recording here, or?
You can. I normally ask you guys to stop recording as
Oh,
we
sure.
exit. So that. No, we gotta get out.
You didn't tell us that. I didn't see that. Where the devil were we?
Get out. That was at Lodge Alley.
Lodge Alley.
Oh,
Last one we were
hell.
at.
I'm sorry.
You just said often? Okay.
That came after the acknowledging when I was watching to make sure she didn't fall.
Get out.
It said get out, then acknowledge. So it was almost like a,
Yeah.
you need to understand I'm asking you to get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
Like, that's pretty much what that did.
Okay.
See
She
what you
didn't bother to tell us that.
Apparently not.
I didn't.
Well, that makes sense because I felt something on my leg, and she turned around. She said, "Did you feel something on your leg?" I said, "Yeah, I sure
I
did."
did. Just
In the
like
alley.
right here,
Okay.
right there, by my sock, about 3 inches. By my sock, it found something
Yep,
just
that's
like
exactly where mine was on the back, 3 inches above
mine was
the
on the
socks.
side.
I got a DHK. I don't know what that means.
I don't either. Hopefully we get the initial I'm looking for in here.
Okay.
So this is a pretty popular spot. Like, this is a staple for Charleston ghost tours, just so you guys know. If you take another ghost tour, you're going to come down here. It's almost a guarantee. So this is Philadelphia Alley. I'm going to tell you this story a little bit differently because you're ghost hunting. You need different details than what that guy's doing down there. It says you. Like, you acknowledge, get out. Like, that's kind of what the whole mentality of that
Listen
one was.
up.
I know, right? So this place used to be called Duelers Alley. This is where some of the duels used to occur for the city of Charleston. We all talk about one specific duel because we can prove it happened. Here's what how this one goes. A doctor moves down here from Rhode Island. His name is Dr. Joseph Brown Ladd. He moves down here because his fiancée Amanda just inherited a bunch of money from her dead parents. She's an attorney, helping her out with all of this money. The attorney thinks that Dr. Ladd is just after Amanda's money, so he tells Amanda, get rid of this doctor. He comes to Charleston to prove that he's not after her money. And as he's coming into town, the coachman set him up to be robbed and killed. So it wasn't a good start. Somebody was walking by, seen everything that was about to happen because he knew the coachman, because he lived here, and his name was Ralph Isaacs. I stopped on Ralph because Ralph has the same initials as where the doctor came from. Rhode Island, Ralph Isaacs. Even before the Ouija board device, our eye would show up here all the time, either on that device or on listening to it. So that's the reason why I stop on Ralph. But Ralph tells the doctor, you don't want to stay here. I know this guy, he's going to try to kill you. I got friends at 59 Church Street. You can stay there and you'll be safe and good to go. Dr. Ladd takes him up on the offer. Him and Ralph become friends. The longer the doctor stays in Charleston, the more money he's making, which means Amanda's moving down soon because he's proving his point. He becomes known as the Whistling Doctor. Now, every haunted city you're ever going to visit has a cliched whistling ghost. So there is proof of this one, and that's part of the reason why we record everything. So at this point, if you hear whistling and faint things in the background, again, it's probably coming from that particular spirit. But there's other things that actually happen here too. But let's continue on. Him and Ralph go see plays together. They can't sit next to each other. The doctor makes more money. He gets better seats, which means they talk about these plays on the way home. One night they went to go see Richard III from Shakespeare, and they're arguing over the new actress. Dr. Ladd thought she was fantastic. Ralph, not so much. The argument gets a little bit more heated when Ralph starts insulting the doctor's fiance back home in Rhode Island. So they obviously go their separate ways. Ralph has friends here. He goes to his friends at the newspaper and puts an ad in the paper telling the whole city of Charleston what he thinks of the doctor. Kind of a disgrace to society kind of thing. Dr. Ladd sees the newspaper ad and rebuttals with, let's go to Dueler's Alley. We're going to settle this once and for all. So they come down, they took their 10 paces, they turn. The doctor pointed his gun in the air and was shot. His one shot. He didn't want to kill his friend. He just wanted to have the courage and bravery to show up to the fight, which is often what happened at a duel. But Ralph has his one shot, and he puts it in the kneecap on the doctor. Dr. Ladd drops to the ground. His friends pick him up and carry him home to 59 Church Street, where he died 10 days later. He refused medical treatment. You have to remember that this guy's a doctor. He probably tried to bleed this bullet out himself. So, they say, as you walk through this alley, you can hear the whistles from the doctor, like I mentioned. Keep in mind, if you're going to do this on your own, because I'm not going to take you all the way through, you're going to be using my voice recorder as kind of part of your data. But if you come down here, turn on the voice recorders on your phone. See if you get any whistles in the background. But keep in mind, every local knows this story. Anybody walking up and down Cumberland or Queen Street on this side is going to throw a whistle down the alley. I do it every single night. We end over there, my garage is over there, which means I have to pass the alley, and I always throw a whistle, especially since I got booted out of here. Here's why I got booted out. This alley didn't always come all the way through. Kind of cut off like right around where that lamppost was, my guess. So, which means those bricks down there are older. Those are sun-dried bricks from slave children. I'm sure you guys all picked up on the history from me, right? That's what I'm all about, is the history. There's a full handprint from a slave child at the end of this alley, and fingerprint swipes. Everybody wants to try to get a reading from that handprint. Again, that kid is not staring at that brick in the afterlife. I treat it the same way I do a grave. However, November 26th of 2020, my entire group of 10 decided they're going to huddle around one brick and try to get a reading out of it and ask some questions. It's outside the dining room window of the beautiful mansion at the end of the alley. The gentleman came out because he just bought it. He was tired of seeing me come up and down his street every single night. He come out screaming. My daughter thought it was great because Dad's getting yelled at. She was on the tour that night. And we moved on. The next day was Thanksgiving. I did not have a tour that night. So the next day after that, I got a phone call from the tourism office asking me to go down halfway, which is what we're allowed to do, or reroute my group. I didn't think it was fair for my group of 10 to try to investigate around 20 to 60 people. So I was telling the story outside the alley, and I told my folks, the next story we're going to go to, I don't even believe in. We're going to see what happens. I didn't tell them who or what we were going to be investigating. Before we left, somebody heard the name Anne on a spirit box. I didn't tell them we were going to be investigating the famous female pirate Anne Bonny. Yeah, so I'm like, let's kind of see where this goes. We went up there, I told what little bit I did know about piracy, because it wasn't much at the time, because I'm a vampire guy, not a pirate person. And somebody else hears the number 300. I have no idea what that means until I'm doing research the next day. Turns out we were there on November 28th of 2020. Anne Bonny's trial for piracy was November 28th of 1720. We were there on the exact 300-year anniversary of her pirate trial. So I keep taking you guys back up there in hopes that we're going to find more things about Anne Bonny. Worst case scenario, because yeah, it does get very warm in these closed spaces, so we're going to move on here quickly. But this location, we will get things all the way over at the Powder Magazine from this space. I just like to tell the story while we're here so you can see the length of it kind of thing, but I also like to tell you there's a reason why I stopped here at this gate. This gate behind me, this was a shortcut for the loser of the duel, the dead guy, to get to the cemetery. Otherwise, remember that the alley didn't come all the way through. They'd have to take the body all the way down to Queen Street and come around. This was just a nice little shortcut to get over to the cemetery so they can go celebrate the winner. Again, there's hot days in Charleston, so but we're going to go up to the Powder Magazine. Do we have any other word besides vision?
I got cord. Yeah. C-O-R-D. I got. That was the last thing we had. New, extraordinary, common, commodity, metaphor, obstacle, signal, pull, digging, romance, and vision.
Wow, that's a lot.
No, we're crazy on it.
The obstacle, that kind of explains the wall, but it's still pretty vague.
Romance and vision. Not yet. Above now.
It's a tree. That's what's above us. Any craziness coming out of your camera? Have you heard anything while you were trying to listen to me too?
I had shut up, Chris.
Shut up, Chris.
Chris is probably just. Most of the rest was just gibberish.
Okay. All right, so when we get up to the Powder Magazine, we're going to see a lot of other tours. We're just going to stay out of their way. I'm going to give you the history of the location, and then we're going to spread out like what we did at the Pinckney Mansion site.
Whoa! You scared me.
C'est correct avec ça si on changeait, tu peux dire. Ton doigt est devant.
Ah!
C'est ça.
Martin?
Quoi que tu regardes? Ah, mais ça, c'est de la chaleur.
Ah, mais on veut du froid, ok.
Ça, c'est comme là.
Ok.
They want us to move. Get us move.
We will be here shortly.
You want to get us up? We want to move around?
Nope, not yet. We got to go through some
Travis.
before I have you guys spread out.
Travis.
Travis. That's a weird pirate name. So, every ghost tour.
Look how crazy that bars are. Look at all these cars.
Keep us posted on what's coming up out of there. That's St. Philip's Church, just so everybody knows where we're at. And this is the Powder Magazine. So this is our last stop. This is our last hurrah. So every ghost tour goes to the other side by St. Philip's, and I kind of let them have it. It's their one show and tell.
Fuel. What?
Fuel.
Not fuel, like gas, fuel.
So here's what goes on over there. You need to know that there's two different sides to the cemetery. If you're a native Charlestonian and you were born here, you get buried on the church side. Like Charles Pinckney, Eliza's husband, is buried over there because he's from here. Everybody else comes to the other side, on the other side of that ivy wall over there. John Calhoun, your 7th vice president, is on the other side of that wall because he's not from here. He's just lived here for a long time. They actually shuffled his ass back and forth trying to figure out where he was supposed to go. Just turns out he's not from here. He just lived here a long time. But every ghost tour goes up to that cemetery because there's a sign there that reads, "There's no ghost here but the Holy Ghost." The church put that sign there to keep guys like me out. Here's why. 1888, a young lady dies by the name of Sue Howard Hardy. Now, we just talked about initials with Ralph in Rhode Island. Sue Howard Hardy shows up all the time for us. It's cheesy, it's campy. I don't even like telling you guys. Sue Howard Hardy. You get it all the time. It comes up on yours. You get it on the listening one. It happens all the time. It might even come up on the Ouija board one for the new one. But she dies 6 days after her stillborn child. It's a very sad story. Pretty much abrupt. But 1987, 99 years later, a local photographer's taking pictures and he captures a full apparition in one of his photographs. Yeah, for guys like me, this thing is gold. And it's 1987, so he doesn't know what to do with the photograph, so he sends it to Kodak. I don't think I have to explain what Kodak is to this group. That's kind of cool. But Kodak doesn't know what to do with the photograph either. So again, this thing is gold, but it is cursed. Females that handle it, even in a digital format, when I say handle it, like you're holding it, same symptoms we talked about, the headache, the nausea, the dizziness. Females that are pregnant and holding it, basically going to have not a good pregnancy based on the gist of the stillborn baby of the story. So I'm going to show you the apparition, obviously, so you know what's going on over there. I'm just going to ask that you don't touch the tablet. So I'm not going to be the guy where somebody had a great vacation and 9 months later, I cursed your family. So again, I'm sure you guys got a weird array of paranormal things out of this whole night. But this is one of those pieces you really can't deny what's going on. So this is the full picture. Your apparition is right here. You're looking at a woman praying over her own grave with a baby basket next to her.
And that's part of the apparition. There's nothing.
That's it. Nope, there's nothing at all. That's the only piece that actually stuck out. So you can see as he was developing this, where it would actually show up. This is also another instance where the baby is probably buried with mom. Again, I tried to do some searching on the child, but from the church records, found nothing. So here's your full picture. Here's your apparition.
Oh, yeah, it really does look like bassinet there.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and that is Sue's grave. So that much has been confirmed. So that's where the whole story comes from. And that's why they're over there. They're just making it a big giant finale.
Okay.
We're over here to talk about pirates.
Okay.
So,
Let's talk about the powder.
let's talk about pirates. You're at the Gunpowder magazine. So the word AIM actually makes sense here. So I was pretty excited about that. This thing actually, those aren't crosses on the building. I'm sure you noticed the giant crosses on the side of the building as we approach. We're here because this building would be familiar to Anne Bonny as she was starting her new life here in Charleston. We don't have many buildings this old, which is part of the reason why we're here. So let's get into this crazy story that I found. 1708, right in the middle of the building's construction, a young lady named Anne Cormack moves here from Ireland. She's with her father and his mistress. The mistress turns out to be Anne's mother. Is everybody with me so far? The three of them are running away from his angry wife. Yeah, I just like to point that out there because if I don't bring it up, it's going to come up somewhere else. So, they land in Georgetown between us and Myrtle Beach. Dad bought a plantation. Mom died pretty quickly. That means Dad has to send young Anne down here to Charleston to sell anything from the plantation to keep things going. Now, Anne back home in Ireland was kind of a hardcore chick. She actually killed one of her servants when she was a small girl with a knife to the belly. So again, we do get keyword terms wrapped around that piece. I just like to give you the mentality of her as we finish her story. Let's fast forward. Building's done in 1713. Pirates are coming through town in 1715. Anne is stoked. She's going to fall in love pretty quickly because she wants her freedom, just like a man. First guy she falls in love with, yes, I said first because there is a handful. His name is James Bonny. You already see where this one's going? He's a filthy pirate. Dad didn't approve, so they eloped to Jamaica, and now we have Anne Bonny, the famous female pirate. But this is not Captain Jack Sparrow like in the movies, like what she was hoping for. This guy is a privateer. He's a spy for the British. So this is not who she wants. Years later, she falls in love again. This guy's name is John Rackham, a.k.a. Calico Jack. This is literally the person they based your Captain Jack Sparrow character off of. He does have his own ship, and Anne wants to be part of it. You can't put a girl on a pirate ship. Does anybody know why?
It's bad luck.
Right, they're bad luck. So he makes a deal with her. If you dress like a guy and be part of the crew, you can be a female in my quarters. She's okay with this because Dad used to cross-dress her as a boy back home in Ireland to keep her away from his wife. So she's like, whatever, it's a man's world, let's go. Let's put two and two together. She's a female in his quarters. She's eventually going to get pregnant. You can't have a pregnant pirate dude on the crew. Somebody's going to figure out that she's a girl. So Jack drops her off in Cuba. Go have the baby, come back later, we'll figure it out. She goes and has the baby, but returns with no baby. We have no idea what happened to the child. She's also dressed like a female, and this makes Jack pretty angry. And while she was away giving birth, he captured another pirate crew. They're down below deck. She's going to go flirting with them because she wants to make Jack even more mad, because that's who Anne is. Guy number 3, in case you guys lost track. Guy number 3 turns out to be a female, dressed like a guy to be part of the pirate crew the Calico Jack captured. So now we have 2 females trying to be pirates on the same ship. Her and this young lady's name is Mary Reed, by the way. She went by Mark Reed to become a pirate, so we get either name, just depends. So her and Mary become friends, possibly lovers, we're never going to really know, but the British find out where they are. They send an entire fleet of ships to take down the one pirate ship by Calico Jack. Anne and Mary are the only 2 pirates that aren't drunk enough to come up and fight with their 1-bullet flintlocks because they don't know how to use the cannons yet. Obviously, the 2 ladies are not going to take on a fleet of ships. So as they're being arrested, she looks at her captain. He was dead and gone 2 days ago. Anne and Mary go in front. They reveal their gender. He doesn't care that they're female. He's still going to hang them because they're still pirates. We plead our bellies was the last thing they said, trying to save themselves, because you can't hang a pregnant woman in 1720. It's illegal. He says, fine, we'll send you both back to jail, delay the hanging. And Dad is here in Charlestown with all this Irish money. He brings Anne home. She remarries. That's husband number 2, but guy number 4, because we're going to count Mary Read. We don't really know. They have 4 kids, and she dies at the age of 84. Yeah, very abrupt ending. I hate giving that to you, but it just shows we don't know much about her life after her pirate career. As far as Mary Read goes, she died a year later, 1721, from whatever pirates die from in a Jamaican jail. Use your imagination. I'm sure it was pretty nasty, gross, and scurvious, and whatever else you want to come up with. Now, the only 2 things I left out of here, as far as questioning goes, you guys seem to be pretty good at questions. The things we can prove for certain, the names of Anne Bonny's parents. That's the father and his mistress. The other thing I left out was the name of Calico Jack's ship. So that way you guys have something to kind of go off of. Those of you with cameras, if you want to go visit a couple of places, because we're going to spread out here. This is your last hurrah, have some fun with your gear. You can go to the front of the Powder magazine and get some footage of the front of the building. Just don't interrupt the other tours. That's the only thing I ask. Or if you want to go over across the street to that cemetery where the sign is, you can do that too. Again, this is not a place where I'm going to be like hovering over you like I did over the Pinckney Mansion site. So you guys know what you're doing with your gear at this point. Wilma, you're doing great with handling both of those. That's really cool. So with this location, you're not going to get a whole lot of numbers, just so you know. Your device, we've been asking Anne to show us her hair color, which means you need to turn on that little white button in the back. Her hair was red. I'm just going to put it out there. And we did get the color red while we were over at the Philadelphia Alley. So I was pretty excited about that, but I don't have another clue just yet. So I want to verify it. And a lot of times if you ask her for it, she'll give it to you right away. And that's the only way to get a red out of this is to touch that antenna. So the only way to get a red out of this guy is they would actually have to touch it. Like, that's the only way to get a red. And that's the only time I've ever seen a red come up is when I've asked her for her hair color. So again, and I was asking directly at the Red Spirit box because I was working with 2 people, and we got the answer out of there. And then we moved space and asked again and got the same answer, just to kind of prove it. Because I was like, maybe it's just the space. Let's move and try it again. We tried it again. There it was. So, any crazy words coming up on yours?
Approximately radiation, poor, radiation, poor person,
Yeah.
poor person,
What was the one after that?
radiation.
Radiation.
The one at the fuels, wow, like AWOL,
Gotcha.
and radiation, poor radiation.
Approximate radiation. Martin, you got anything on yours?
No, not right now. I was listening to you, but now I'm.
Now you're focused and
Yeah,
ready to
yeah.
go? All right, let's spread out. Let's have a good time. Let's see what kind of footage we can get. Again, you have the balance of enough things going on. That was so good.
what's the name of your parents? J'ai entendu father. C'est...
Ouais. J'ai mal au pied.
We're still inside the original wall. The wall came up from the center. So this was just a fortification of the wall. The original water impact.
Dad, but it's not language of the time, right?
No, definitely not.
No, that's so. They was just a concept. So it was really very funny, but clearly dad.
Waiting for you to tell me the name.
No,
Thought he had it.
I had Eye in the Sky. I heard, and it's on trail 4.
Tell me the name of your dad.
How's yours coming?
I don't
Just
really
want to make sure
see
you're
much.
just want to make sure you're recording first off, which you are.
Aren't I?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, you are. Well, you haven't used it most of the night, so I just
No.
wanted to check on you
Yeah,
real quick.
yeah.
And again, with these cameras, it's not always a real-time moment. It's always about the review. It's a very rare instance where we see something in real time. It's just a matter of how much slow movements can we get out of the time, and then watch it on a bigger screen tomorrow. Like, that's kind of the mentality behind it.
That makes sense.
But you're staring right at the right spot, because a lot of the stuff that I've caught with these cameras has been over by the wall where we were sitting.
Okay.
So I have full orbs moving around, like, intelligently, like
Okay.
taking direction. I've had psychics tell me that there's something going on with that bush over there. They normally see the same soldier. Like, I've
Okay.
had multiple psychics tell me that. So I mean, you're staring in the right direction. But also, if you wanted to go to the front, you would have to exit the lot and go in front of those bushes,
Okay.
and it'll be on your left-hand side.
Ooh, I'll go there.
So take Martin with you. Any other crazy letters?
Martin. Veux-tu venir au front du building avec moi?
Quoi?
Veux-tu venir voir le front du building avec moi?
Est-ce quelque chose?
Ben, il m'a dit de t'amener.
Pourquoi?
Je sais pas. Je pense que je sais pas, j'ai appris ça.
En avant quel BD?
Là.
Ok, ouais. Mother's dead.
No. That's it.
What was the name of your mother?
Okay. Oh, ça l'ouvre, ça. Non, ok.
What's the name of your ship? T'es par là?
Ok.